Okay, class. In this video, we are going to continue the discussion on the pulse diagnosis. A slow pulse. The slow pulse refers to the pulse rate less than 4 beats per breath. In other words, less than 60 beats per minute. A slow pulse indicates the cold condition. The reason is because the cold condition, the coldness, has the characteristic of slowing down. So in cold condition, everything slows down, such as in the environment. In winter, when the temperature is lower, become colder, the tree doesn't grow. The growing of the plants slow down. The growing of the animals also slow down. So everything slow down because of the cold condition. So the cold condition in the human body also can result in slow pulse, can slow down the pulse beat. That's from the rates. From the other side, from the tension, we also can feel is it powerful or weak. Slow plus forceful can indicate excess cold. Slow plus weak can indicate the deficiency cold. So that's from the rates and from the tension, we can identify the excess or deficiency. In some situations, especially for people who exercise a lot, or is specifically, it actually refers to athletes. Someone always run for long distance. They may present with slow pulse, but that's normal for them. So in this situation, we need to identify, is it a pathological condition or physiological condition? So that's the slow pulse. Moderate pulse. A moderate pulse, the rate is slightly faster than the slow pulse, which beats 4 beats per breath. And you can feel that the beats comes and goes slowly. A moderate pulse indicates the dampness or weakness of the spleen and stomach. And the dampness, the weakness of the spleen and stomach, and the dampness, and actually is the reason and is the cause and the results. The weakness of the spleen and stomach will result in the dampness. So these two actually the same cause. That's the root cause is the weakness of the spleen and stomach. The dampness is the manifestation. A moderate pulse also can be in a healthy person. And in this kind of healthy person, we can feel the rate is about 4 beats per breath. The tension, we can feel that relaxed and forceful. The kind of feeling. How do you feel something relaxed from the pulse? Let's compare with the rapid pulse. So that's the other pulse we're going to introduce in the next slide. Let's compare with the other one. This is relaxed. That's also the other way to say that the pulse is not slow but moderate. The difference between a healthy moderate pulse or a pulse and a pulse with a moderate pulse with dampness. The difference is a moderate pulse due to the dampness, you can feel the rate is still similar to 4 beats per breath, but you can feel not forceful, or the pulse is weaker compared with the healthy is weaker. So that can indicate the pathological condition. the rapid pulse. So compared with the moderate pulse, what's a relaxed feeling? That is not fast. A rapid pulse is a fast pulse rate, more than 5 beats, but less than 7 beats per breath, which means it's about 90 to 120 beats per minute. What can make the pulse become faster? That's the heat. This is a situation. You can just imagine this is very similar when you boil your water at home. You can see as the temperature becomes higher, the water become hotter and hotter, and then once it reach to the rolling boil, you can see the bubbles in the water is keep jumping. The bubbles in the water that's become faster. That's become rapid pulse. This is very similar because of the heat condition in the body. The heat condition in the body can increase the temperature of the blood. That's why the flow of the blood is faster. Also, the pulse can present in a rapid pulse. This is from the rates, also from the tension. It's a weak or forceful. This also can indicate deficiency or excess. So the weak feeling is not forceful, indicates the deficiency heat. A forceful pulse indicates an excess heat. So as we introduce more and more, we can combine more descriptions here. And until now, you will understand that whenever we mention the forceful, it can be excessive. Whenever we mention about weak feeling, it can indicate deficiency. So later, we're also going to study deficiency pulse or excessive pulse. What kind of pulse is deficiency? We also get from the feeling, is it weak or strong. So the rapid pulse is the yang or the heat. The heat can be excessive heat or deficiency heat due to indeficiency. What's the reason for deficiency heat? That's the root cause is indeficiency. A rapid pulse is often seen in infants or children. So that's something we have introduced before. For kids, their heartbeats always faster in certain age. Adults may have a rapid pulse during exercise or emotion fluctuations. So this situation is the condition that if someone come to you for consultation, they late for your appointment, so they are rushing. Once they arrive at your consultation room, and then you feel the pulse directly, and then in this situation, you feel the pulse is quite quick, and then you diagnose as a rapid pulse. This may lead to the wrong diagnosis. The reason is in this situation, the patient ran to your consultation room. The patient, because of late for the appointment, so the patient feel nervous or feel anxiety or stress. The emotion also will change the pulse. So in this situation, you can ask the patient to rest for a while, for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're going to take the pulse again. That's the cautionary notes we have introduced in the general introduction. So in this situation, you need to consider what aspects? What other aspects can affect the pulse? Racing pulse. Racing pulse, a swift pulse, is very rapid. So here they use another word, same as a racing pulse, with the pulse rate approximates 7 to 8 beats in one breath. In this situation, as we know, that the pulse, the rate from the pulse is actually the rate of the heartbeat. So in this situation, the patient will present more than 120 beats per minute. This indicates extreme excess yang or extreme excess heat. Exhaustion of yin. This erosion of yin will result in deficiency heat. So that's also heat. But this heat is much worse than the rapid pulse. That's why it says extreme excess or extreme deficiency. So these two, the rapid pulse and the racing pulse, the indications are the same, all due to the heat. It can be the excessive heat. It also can be the deficiency heat. The only difference between these two is the rate. And the rates can indicate how severe the heat. So the more heat in the person, the more heat in the patient, they will have a faster pulse rate. A racing pulse is normally in a severe condition. That's why it says extreme heat. Forceful is the excessive, weak deficiency. And also in kids, it may be, especially in infants, it may be normal at this rate. So these two categories is from the rates, how many beats per breath or how many beats per minute. The next one we're going to introduce the deficiency pulse. The deficient pulse is a generalized term to use to describe a pulse are forceless at all three regions. So for the slow pulse, the rapid pulse, or racing pulse, moderate pulse, no matter which level, the three level, superficial, medium, or deep level, you also can feel they are slow. Because in this situation, it is impossible that you can feel rapid pulse at superficial level and then a slow pulse at the bottom in a deep level. That's almost impossible. But some other feelings can happen together, such as the one we have introduced just now for the deficiency and excessive. Deficient, forceless. A patient can present with slow pulse, very slow, and forceless, or very slow and powerful. So that's the combination of different manifestations. Deficient pulse can be felt in three regions. The pulse can be felt in Chun area, in Guan area, in Ci area. The pulse also can be felt in superficial level, medium level, in a deep level. So, but from these, no matter where you feel, the pulse will be forceless. So it's not forceful. That's why we said deficient pulse. Deficient pulse indicates the deficiency of qi and blood. So when you feel the pulse is forceless, this indicates the blood in the vessels is not enough. That's why you feel relaxed or forceless. This is very similar in the hose pipe. If the water, the pressure is not high, you may feel the hose pipe. It's very soft outside. But if there's a lot of water in the hose pipe, you can feel that's forceful. So that's a soft, a weak feeling, a soft, weak feeling. You can feel it from the pulse that it can indicate the blood, qi and blood deficiency within the vessel. That's why the deficiency pulse indicates the qi and blood deficiency. A short pulse. A short pulse cannot be felt along the entire truncal area. So where's the truncal area? We have introduced the here where your three fingers locates is called the truncal area. The pulse is supposed to be felt in all three areas, from your index finger all the way to your ring finger. You're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel the pulse in these three sessions. But in this situation, the patient's pulse cannot be cannot be felt in fully three sessions. You only feel in one area. So normally we can feel from your index finger to the ring finger, but now the pulse only can be felt in the one local area. There's nothing in the twin area, there's nothing in the area. This is a situation we call it a short pulse. A short pulse mostly happens in qi stagnation or qi deficiency. That's because the qi obstructs the blood flow. Excess pulse or excessive pulse describe a pulse that can be felt forceful. So you can feel forceful at certain location, at one location, at location. So these three sessions, these three divisions, you also can feel very forceful. You also can feel in superficial level, in medium level, or the deep level. So no matter from the different divisions or different levels, you can feel as the pulse is very forceful. As you can see here, this excessive pulse is just opposite to the deficient pulse. The deficient pulse, you can feel forceless or weak in three divisions and three levels. And excessive pulse indicate can be felt very forceful in these three regions, three levels, and it indicates an excessive syndrome. So when you feel the pulse is very forceful, it can indicate the excessive syndrome. When a patient presents as an excessive syndrome, we will study in the next session after the diagnostics from the differentiation. We will see the excessive syndrome is the actually can reflect that the struggle between the antipathogenic qi and pathogenic factors. Strong struggle. So the antipathogenic qi is still strong, and the pathogenic factors, the pathogens, are also strong. So the fights between each other, the struggle between each other is very violent. That's why it presents as an excessive syndrome. The long pulse. The long pulse can be felt beyond the truncal. 寸关尺 area. So this is also opposite to the short pulse. A normal pulse you can feel from the 寸 to the 尺 location. A short pulse, we don't feel in the 寸 area, we don't feel in the 尺 area, we only feel in the guan area. That's a short pulse. A long pulse, we can feel more than here. So we can feel beyond the 寸口 area. That can indicate excessive liver yang or excessive internal yang qi. The reason why we can feel or why it is the yang or the heat, that's because we supposed not feel. The pulse is supposed not to be felt in this area, but now they can be felt. That indicates the excessive movements of the pulse. Where does the excessive movement come from? Is excessive yang. That's because of the yang, the function of yang qi can help the circulation of qi and blood. So if they help too much, you feel more than normal. That's become a long pulse. So these are how to understand the different pulse situation, different pulse manifestations. Until now, we have introduced the floating pulse, a deep pulse, a slow pulse, rapid pulse, deficiency pulse, and excessive pulse. As you can see, the 6 pulse, we have introduced more than 6. The reason is I put the similar pulse together, but from the title, floating, deep, rapid, or slow, deficient or excess, or in the other words, forceful or forceless. These are something very easy to identify. So that's how to identify the manifestations. We need to identify the location. We need to identify different levels, superficial or deep. And also you will see in the later slides we're going to introduce thick pulse, large pulse, or thin pulse. These are something very easy to identify, something thick or thin. In the next video, we are going to introduce the other pulse that can be a combination of these pulse. Thank you for your attention.